Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Coffee With. I'm your host, Christopher Evans, and today on Coffee With, it's a true pleasure to welcome Lesley Hunter. Hello, Lesley.
Hello.
Well, Lesley, you have a very interesting background in a very interesting space, the space of people finding jobs and resumes. How about telling us a little bit about how you got into the world of resumes?
Sure. I've always enjoyed writing. I've specifically had my business for over 6 years, but I've been copywriting for 10 plus years. I got into the overall, writing field as I actually used to host an online TV show. So did writing more in the capacity of for entertainment, interview questions, like kind of what you're doing today. And after that opportunity, I worked in a corporate field in another area and always aspired to get back to writing and figured, let me look and see what's out there in terms of any type of freelance opportunities at that time, which was over 6 years ago. And I stumbled upon an ad looking for resume writers for a company. So I applied, passed their testing, and did that on the side in addition to my corporate job, which I was living in Chicago at the time. When I had the opportunity to go to Los Angeles, I was either deciding whether I should stay in the field that I was in at the time, or to pursue maybe writing more full time. So I upped my workload at the company as a contract writer and had individuals that knew I was a resume writer say, how can I work with you? And I then decided, you know what, why don't I start my own LLC in business so that since I have a pretty big network of friends and colleagues, they can come to me directly. And so, 6 years ago plus, that birthed Lesley Yvonne LLC and Resume Makeover.
That's fantastic. Are resumes different today than, say, 5 or 10 years ago?
Yes, they are. One of the blatant things to me that stands out about the differences, even just 5, 10 years ago and now, is objective statement versus professional summary. So an objective statement is what an applicant wants from the company versus a professional summary is what the applicant can offer the company. So you'll see back in the day, objective statements that say, I would like a company where I can utilize my exceptional, insert skills here, marketing ability and job experience. So that's essentially asking and saying, this is what I want from you, AKA the company. Nowadays, professional statements are more in. So it's more prevalent now to state what it is that the applicant can offer to the company. For example, if an applicant in their professional summary says, a proven track record of increasing revenue and streamlining processes for companies, that is something that the hiring manager can look at specifically and say, oh, this is something that the applicant can give to us. So that is that's a big difference. Also, we're in the digital age. We were still in that age, 5, 10 years ago, but even more so now. You'll see more applications being sent through LinkedIn, through online platforms, as opposed to some time ago when we were mailing, resumes in the actual USPS mail system. So because of that, there's more software and systems that scan resumes. One prominent one being called the ATS stands for the applicant tracking system. So this system is employed by every large company I know, majority of medium-sized companies and most small companies. And once that an applicant's resume goes through the applicant tracking system or ATS, 75% will be rejected. So with that said, it's really important to make sure that resumes have the effective keyword targeting, because that is a big criteria for which resumes will either be accepted or rejected through that ATS. So again, in addition to the difference between objective statements and professional summaries, being in the digital age, it's really important to target keywords effectively so that they get through these online software and systems.
And Lesley, how often should someone update their resume?
I say as often as possible. That would be my honest answer. If someone is looking for a specific time length, I would say between 6 to 12 months, someone should be going and reviewing their resume, seeing if everything's up to date. But really, honestly, anytime there are changes within a person's career, job duties, if they've gotten a promotion or gotten let's say someone's an accountant and just got their CPA, you want to go right to your resume and update that so that, let's say you're in a comfortable job and you don't, everything is fine. And then unfortunately, let's say there's a layoff, even if it's 3 years later after you looked at your resume, at that point, the applicant would have to go back to the resume if they haven't been readily updating it and fill in all the gaps. And that can take quite a bit of time, especially if someone's not a professional resume writer. So every 6 to 12 months max, but anytime that there's an update to any accomplishment you've had or any changes in your job, just go to your resume and quickly update it so that you don't have to do everything in a rush and have to think back in your memory bank.
What piece of advice might you be able to share with us that really makes a resume stand out?
Yes, there are several things, but for lack of time, I won't go into all of them. I would say that making sure that your or an applicant's resume is more accomplished based, not simply task based. It's okay to state what you do in your everyday job. Let's say if someone's in sales, it's pretty standard, of course, to prospect, to make phone calls, call X amount of targets per day or prospective clients per day. That's fine to state, but those are things that are going to be expected in that type of position. So going over and beyond and mentioning what you or the applicant has really done over and beyond their normal daily tasks to add to the organization or increase something substantial. For example, instead of just prospected or called 5 to 10 individuals a day, if I was in sales and had some accomplishments, I could say, increased revenue by 20% in the first 6 months, or something very quantitative, and that helps the client the applicant to be able to stand out versus the competition of anyone who's in that same job.
Sure. So impact-driven content versus just task-driven content.
Yes, absolutely. Impact and accomplishment-based content, as you mentioned. And also using powerful action verbs. Recruiters, it's kind of I would say the age-old joke or inside, kind of humor to within the resume and HR representatives to say, oh, here's another responsible for. It's okay to say responsible for in your resume, even as a resume writer. I've used that terminology for some job tasks, but it's something that I try not to use as much. So instead of the age-old responsible for, calling prospects on a daily basis, using other powerful verbs such as spearheaded, strategic relationships, the spearheaded aspect, or initiated, drove sales. Those type of powerful verbs are more interesting and compelling than the responsible for, for every bullet point.
I think it was an old shampoo commercial where they said you only get one chance to make a first impression. And you're making that point quite nicely right here today.
It's so true.
So what else are you involved with beyond resumes?
Yes. Oh gosh, that's how much time you got. No, so I'm involved in different activities, but I would say the two most recent is in addition to my business, I'm also pursuing a master's degree in international business, and I feel that will pertain to what I'm doing with my business. Also, I have competed before in the pageant world, and this year I actually won 2 titles, one of that being Mrs. Florida. I'm located here in Miami, so I enjoy it, and it's kind of nice because in addition with my title, I'm kind of merging my pageant experience with my business, and have partnered with a couple organizations here in Miami, including one that is called Girls Inc. of Greater Miami, that's helping both young women as well as children and young adults increase their writing, expository and educational skills, because in a lot of communities here, especially those that are more low income or don't have, the resources that, we do, they oftentimes need guidance in terms of encouraging their continued success and progress in education, as well as in the workforce. So I'm really enjoying with my title and my business being able to share my skills to help kids in education, writing, and for their future. So I enjoy that.
Well, thank you, Lesley, Mrs. Florida, for a really wonderful conversation and continued success in all your endeavors. And thanks to all of you for joining us on Coffee With.